Welcome to another 3D comparison video. Let's take a look at importing 3D model with texture in Fusion 360 using OBJ file formats. This is the case study 3D model of a Trabant car. The 3D model has been created by 3DScan and is available on Sketchfab. You can find the link within the video description. The license is CC attribution, therefore I encourage you to check the 3D model on the website. To have this transferred towards Fusion 360, we need to either use the GLB file or FBX file format. As the OBJ file format hasn't been added by the creator directly on the download section, the fastest workflow towards Fusion 360 is to use OBJ, as that file format can be imported directly within the software. Otherwise, we need to convert it using Blender or a similar software. I will use the FBX file format. But before we can have it imported in Blender, we need to extract the archive downloaded from Sketchfab. Now within Blender we can import the FBX file to visualize the Trabant car 3D scan. I have left the unzipped folder within the download folder. Let me quick check the folder name to identify the car location within my downloads folder. I will delete the default cube and zoom in towards the scanned textured car. Enable viewport shading within Blender to enable the textures within the viewport. If the materials are not assigned, you can do that easily within Blender. In the case of the Trabant car, these haven't been assigned to the 3D model. To assign them, select the object and go to Shading. Within the Shading viewport you can drag and drop the texture file. From the extracted folder, identify the diffuse map and drag it within the shading viewport, then link it to the material base color. I will do the same for the ground, as these have different UV mapping and different textures. Ground diffuse map is the second texture. Link this to the base color just like with the previous file. Now select both meshes, the car and the ground, and go to Export, and select the OBJ file format which Fusion 360 can open. I will save the OBJ file within the same folder, where the used textures are located, as this is important to enable Fusion 360 to load the texture on import along the selected OBJ file. We can now open Fusion 360 and import the resulting mesh. Go to Insert, Insert Mesh, and locate the newly exported OBJ file. If we select the OBJ file, and the file has the texture located within the same folder, Fusion 360 will be able to load the texture alongside the selected OBJ file. I will rotate the imported model and move it to the ground. As we can see, the model has loaded the texture of the file. I will choose the visual style to be shaded without visible edges. Depending on the size of the model, this will influence the clipping plane from Fusion. Keep in mind that the textures files alongside the MTL file should be positioned within the same folder so that Fusion 360 can load the texture file alongside the selected OBJ file. MTL file can be opened with simple text editors, and they will indicate the texture file's names alongside other parameters. I will create a new folder and copy only the OBJ file inside the folder. Then we will see that importing this within Fusion will not load the textures. The imported model is from the newly created folder. And as we can see, the model has only imported the geometry of the car and the ground. The Fusion clipping plane should be adjusted to better visualize the newly imported object, but I will address this within another video. If we copy the MTL file and the 2 texture to the newly created folder and try to re-import the model, we are going to see that Fusion is capable to load the texture alongside the OBJ file. And there we have it, textured OBJ files imported within Fusion 360. I will position a similar video on the left side of the screen. This video will be added to the Fusion 360 Tips and Tricks playlist. If you find this useful, consider to subscribe to support my channel.